All right, welcome back. Today we're going to react to a video by two, I believe, surgeons talking with docs. But we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're not going to just critique what they say, but we're also going to check out any tactics or methods that they may use to influence or persuade the viewer. So a lot of times, we focus a lot on what they say, but not so much on how they say it or how they present it. So that's about it. Let's go ahead and get into it and see what they have to say. So the first thing we want to point out is that we have a good deal of social proof. So as you can see, they have a little over 1 million subscribers. And what this means is social proof is basically when you're in a kind of uncertain about something. If you're in a time of uncertainty, like for example, shopping on Amazon. If you're shopping on Amazon and you're not really sure about the quality of a product, we usually look at the reviews. We'll read the reviews, how many 4+ star reviews a product has, and that really influences our buying decision. So on YouTube itself, Google understands this concept, and it rewards channels by showing the number of subscribers. If channels didn't show the number of subscribers, you may be shocked at how many people you actually subscribe to. I think that's probably why they got rid of the showing dislikes, because that's how viewers used to voice their viewing power, so to speak. And so here they have over 1 million subscribers. So when someone comes onto their channel, they see that and they think, well, they must be good. Why else would they have over 1 million subscribers? And it has almost 500,000 views. So it has a lot of views. So that's one aspect of social proof. You have the subscribers and you have the views. And then also another aspect of influence is appealing to authority, showing off titles. A lot of examples Cialdini mentions in his book is someone will wear a lab coat. There's actually a big unethical, you might say, study done where they had someone in a lab coat who was presented as a scientist telling someone to shock someone. And it's not going to go into that, but when we see someone in a lab coat or have multiple degrees behind them, someone with MD after their name, doctor before their name, titles, all of these things influence our opinion. So for the last 5 years, we've been appealing to authority, and it hasn't worked out very well. So their title also says Talking with Docs. So you have a lot of subscribers, a lot of views. These are two doctors. So far, they have a very strong influence on a viewer. So let's continue.
Carnivore diet.
Let me go ahead and clear this.
Time for me to start it.
Wait, what?
Not just joking. But what we
Okay. Wait, let's go back.
Wait, what?
Wait, let's start over.
Carnivore diet. Time for me to start it.
Wait, what?
Not just joking. But what
Okay. So at first, it looked like he was presenting carnivore diet, and then he said, "I'm gonna start it." I thought he meant he was gonna start off the video. He's gonna be the first to start explaining a carnivore diet, but it looks like this is probably scripted, and it was just a little bit of bad acting on his part. Yeah, so I get it.
carnivore diet. Time for me to start it.
Wait, what?
Not just joking. But what
Okay, so he's saying, like, oh, what? You're starting that? What are you, stupid? Okay, so they're kind of a little gaslighting, kind of in a negative sense. He's making fun of him because he's saying he's starting the diet. And he says, just kidding. So All right.
What we are talking about today is this carnivore diet that is very popular and has a bunch of issues with it that honestly is going to create a lot of controversy because
Okay, has a lot of problems. All right, we'll see what he says, what these problems are. And he said it's going to stir up controversy. So he's clearly aware that there are a lot of people on carnivore. And in fact, the fact they're doing this video proves that they're so worried about it that they took time to. I'm going to point out they're like, in terms of, forget the lab coat, these guys are full on wardrobe as doctors. They look like surgeons. They have their ID badges. They have their headgear on. They're in a hospital. So you can't really get more push the appeal to authority any more than this. This is pretty strong. They're laying it on pretty thick. And in a lot of cases, I'm not saying they are, I'm not going to accuse them of anything, but a lot of times when you make this much effort and they put the doctor, their names up here, when you're making this much effort when making a claim, you really kind of looks like you're overcompensating. You're really trying to really push in the appeal to authority here. But yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing they could do to up it would be to have like an actual person on a gurney, like in a surgery, like a body laying behind them, and like they just finished surgery. But yeah, so and a quick point out, surgeons, modern medicine, medical technology, medical devices, things like that for trauma, absolutely amazing. You'll never hear me have anything negative to say about doctors when it comes to trauma. But when it comes to health, preventing disease, reversing disease, curing disease, they're just not trained in that field. They're trained to identify symptoms and treat it with chemicals, pharmacology. So, all right, let's keep going.
these people are very passionate.
I think anyone who has an extreme diet is passionate.
100%.
If you're like carnivore,
Keto.
Okay, very passionate. Yeah, I would say some people are passionate. If you know, like for me, I was able to use keto to reverse my prediabetes and a 14-year battle with anxiety and panic disorder. I mean, it got so bad, I became agoraphobic, couldn't even leave the house. And keto cured that for myself. I did it, and anxiety, everything went away. Waking up during the night with anxiety, with a panic attack, all that stuff went away. Waking up in the middle of the night with feeling overwhelmed with dread, things like that, all went away. So, of course, you're going to be passionate about that. You know, imagine if modern medicine now found a cure for cancer. I'm sure they'd be pretty passionate about that. So, to present that as something negative, I don't think is fair. And he said, I'm sorry, let me go back a little bit.
if you're like carnivore,
Keto, vegan,
Yeah.
whatever, you name it.
you don't see people come in, I am so passionate about a balanced diet. It just
No.
doesn't happen. People,
Yeah, probably people aren't very passionate about a balanced diet because a lot of them probably don't feel too good. This balanced diet is like a recent concept. We didn't have balanced diets for a long time. For thousands of years, we haven't had a balanced diet. This is just a new modern phrase or terminology. Same as vegetable. Vegetable is a recent word. It's a culinary term. Because I don't think, I mean, I personally feel it's because they just don't like saying plants. You know, you say, hey, you want to eat some plants? You know, it just doesn't have the same appeal as some made up word like vegetables. So, yeah, so far they're very negative about a carnivore diet.
who go into these extreme diets,
It's like a religion.
really are passionate
Zealots.
about it. Right.
Okay, so
Oh, wow. And he says zealots. That's like an extremist. I think he has like a Jewish or Hebrew background. He's He's calling carnivores zealots. That's wild. But I do agree with him on it being like a religion. A lot of religions, and because religion has this very popular uh, concept of just blind faith. You just believe in something just because, and it's not based on any evidence and or any reasons. And that's not the case with all religions. But in the case of modern medicine, it is one of those types of religions because when it comes to human nutrition, there's no science. It is a theology, an ideology. It's not based on any evidence. And again, I won't get into those details. Join Carnivore Labs, link below. If you want to see more on that, we have cheat sheets and all that kind of stuff to explain what I'm saying, to back what I'm saying. So it's more of a religion for him, not for those in carnivore, because we back what we say with evidence. Now, it's not absolute truth. Nothing is really. I mean, are we really here? But we base everything on inference and on evidence. And so with carnivore, we have biochemistry, physiology, comparative anatomy, some cases physics, if you're talking about calories. We have all kinds of things that we base our understanding on. Whereas they most likely base everything on studies, which is basically like scripture to the religion of modern medicine, in my opinion. So if that makes me sound like a zealot, so be it. But it's interesting you use that word. That's like an extremist. That's a very negative connotation. So not painting us in even a fair picture so far. So far, we're getting a lot of gaslighting, a lot of condescension. It's just, let's keep going.
So let's start at the beginning of this diet. What is the
All right, so he starts off with a laugh, kind of really downplays it. And if for a person, this is important. If a person is not sure if a carnivore diet is good or bad, it's vegan, good or bad, and you watch something like this with the powerful imagery and the titles, and we've already been raised that doctors know everything and they're amazing, they're geniuses, hear and obey, blind faith. It would make it very difficult for someone who's not sure to not be affected by the laughing, hey, I'll start the diet. And you're like, what? He's like, I'm just kidding. Like this really sets you up, to be very afraid to even question it. If I didn't know better and I watch this and you have these two guys who are clearly surgeons, I'm not going to go to my doctor and mention carnivore probably because I don't want him to, laugh at me or, call me stupid or a zealot or whatever. Right. So just wanted to mention that.
carnivore diet?
Carnivore diet consists of eating animal products primarily, if not only.
Yeah, so the strictest form is
Okay. So they're saying the carnivore diet. There's no the carnivore diet. There's no claim to one specific type. There are many ways to follow a carnivore diet. In fact, if you eat meat at all, technically you're carnivore because you eat meat. So them saying the carnivore diet is kind of like limiting it and kind of really setting it up, I think, to use it for their definition of a carnivore diet. So now moving forward, if you're someone who doesn't really understand, you're going to, when someone says, oh, I tried carnivore, you're going to think of this because it's prefaced with the. So it's the carnivore diet. And you're like, okay, I know what that means. 2 doctors told me what it means. But no, there are many varieties of carnivore. So let's just make that clear.
It's truly only animal products.
That's right.
So that means no plants, no fruits, no vegetables, no nuts, no seeds, nothing. Just animal products.
Okay.
All right. So he's kind of saying that in a way to imply that it's a bad thing because we've all been raised through movies, TV shows, cartoons, news, our doctors, everyone, I think, has heard that you're supposed to eat fruit and vegetables. But there's no informed consent with these recommendations, because a lot of people don't know that fruit and vegetables are all man-made. These are recent, hybridized uh, bred strains or varieties of plants that were, a little over 10,000 years ago, when the agriculture and everything came about. There's a lot of breeding and hybridizing plants because they're so toxic. You couldn't eat them really without getting sick. So they started, you know, manipulating them and changing them. And broccoli and cauliflower and Brussels sprouts, all of these things come from the mustard plant. So, and it was all to make it edible, so you don't get sick right away. Now it just kind of eats away at you a little bit over the years. But, we hear this all the time: eat your vegetables. And the vast majority of kids, we just know instinctively, just our taste buds tell us this, you shouldn't be eating this. And even people who like salad and all that, probably not so much without dressing. Vegetables without seasoning, without having to do a whole lot of, gymnastics around it, putting all kinds of stuff on it, not very palatable, not very good. So, yeah, I think this is another place they're putting, because they're taking existing knowledge. Vegetables and fruit are good. How dare you zealots say that that's not good for you? That sounds crazy. That's too conflicting. Cognitive dissonance kicks in. You get defensive. Because a lot of us, because of this information overload, we just get even more overload when it comes to having to change our mind to analyze new information. Like, who has time for that? We're already so confused and, inundated with so much information. But that's why people like myself and others in the carnivore space, or in the space of psychology, who are trying to do all of that for you, so that, of course, it takes time to get trust. You don't know me, why listen to me? But hopefully over time, you take the little time to kind of confirm what I'm saying or try it for yourself. But that's what it is. They're banking on everyone still being kind of brainwashed and stuck in this way of thinking, so that you don't move forward. And so, yeah. Anyhow, let's move forward.
It
Seems like a good idea.
seems obvious that it's not a
Okay, so I was gonna say, he said it seems like a good idea. It actually does seem like a good idea if you say just eat animal products and not plants. But that, that's a little bit too harsh. You'd rather say eat animal products and not vegetables and fruit. These pretty heartwarming terms instead of plants and seeds. That doesn't sound appetizing. Plant, seeds, nuts. It just, it just seems like something in your driveway. But he said, no, I'm just kidding. So another one of those kind of like indirect gaslighting you. If you thought that sounded like a good idea, you're stupid. That's pretty much what they're saying.
good idea. I mean, I
Right.
spent so many years telling my kids to eat their vegetables. I
Right.
never thought I'd have to say it again now that
Right.
they're grown up and they have kind of good eating habits, but here we are.
Right.
Okay, so he brought that up. He's been raising his kids all these years to eat vegetables. Now he's gonna have to tell them no. Like, he seems pretty proud that they have these good eating habits, quote unquote. I got this little camera. I don't know if stuff I do is showing up, but so he's someone who's just like, he spent all those years in medical school, rote memory, learning how to identify symptoms and treat symptoms, and then, or eventually, he went on to surgery. I'm pretty sure these guys are surgeons, just by the way they're dressed. But when you go through all of those years, it's kind of a hazing. When you go through all those years of study, and you finally, you get through all the brutal exams and all of that, and you get your license, imagine how hard it would be to just throw all of that away for a different approach or a different understanding of something. It would be very difficult. You know, it's cognitive dissonance, really. It's, you know, you're so ingrained in an idea or an ideology or a theology that it's very hard to change your mind. So I don't blame these guys. And of course, if they started saying that, they could even probably lose their license, malpractice, even though they're surgeons. But they could have some repercussions. That's why we see so many doctors coming out and saying all the truth after they retire. So let's continue. Yeah. So he's like, I raised my kids on veggies. They're kind of still eating vegetables. So, you know, hopefully they don't see this video, you know, or see a carnivore video. It's kind of like someone like accepting a new religion.
So there are some wild animals and other animals that are obligate carnivores. We are not them. So the thought behind this diet is talking about our animals.
So he's saying there are animals that are carnivore. We are not them. So at least that's how I'm taking it. And so now they're comparing us to animals. I personally don't believe we're animals. People have different beliefs, but we're just going to stick on the carnivore. But we're very unique. We have a brain. We have a consciousness. We have, you know, I believe this world was created for us. And so we're the apex predator. We're the top of the food chain. We can eat the predators if we want. You know, back in the day, we used to eat the predators. You know, we could eat the lion and all that too. And that's just because of our brains. We can catch, we can kill and do these things. So it's not really fair to compare us to lions and things like that. It's like apples and oranges, really.
Ancestors way back, who knows even how many 10,000 or whatever million years ago that you think, how they ate high fat, high protein.
Okay, so I'm guessing he may be a religious person, possibly Christian, the way he was explaining how long we've been here. He's like, however many million years. So he knows that's like a strong argument in the carnivore diet. I personally don't push that version of it, that we come from cavemen or monkeys or anything like that. That's not my belief. But I do know we've been eating meat for tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, however many years it is. We've definitely, for as long as since Adam, we've been eating meat. Because I mean, if you just logically think it through, like there's people live in deserts, there's people live in cold areas, there's people live in all these areas where there are no plants, and they eat meat till this day. So why would that change for the most part? But yeah, I'm kind of sensing he has a religion.
Protein diets, and some fossil studies have shown that maybe this is true, but other studies have clearly shown they actually did eat a fair number of plants. But the reason that
they lived to 32.
Yeah, that's right, because you're being chased by like a dinosaur or whatever, if you believe that.
Okay, yeah, he definitely has a religion, and people did eat some plants, but it was seasonal. They would, you know, eat vegetables and things like that. They would hold on to them for times in the winter when things aren't growing, when even animals weren't really maybe available. You know, eat some fruit, fatten you up a little bit for the winter. You know, this was, we know this is how it was done, but for the most part, hyper carnivore. And again, just real quick, even from my side, from carnivore, whether it's vegan, carnivore, balanced diet, whatever, these are all sales pitches. We're trying to convince you, influence you to try our lifestyle, our eating lifestyle. And so that's what they really push, the anti-carnivore, whereas we push all of the pro-carnivore. So they're trying to stop you from trying carnivore. And so it's very important to understand that. They're trying to scare you away from carnivore. And we know when it comes to modern medicine, the strongest sales tactic is fear and gaslighting and, you know, mocking you. So that's what they're doing. This is clearly what they're doing now. Not gonna be diplomatic anymore. They're clearly trying to slander a carnivore diet, and so, yeah, just be mindful of that. They're trying to sell you on not trying it, and the hundreds of thousands or millions of testimonials of people who are doing carnivore, they're all positive. The only few negative is if you don't transition to it properly. If you get into it overnight, a lot of people don't have good outcomes, and that's with any new diet. You got to let your gut microbiome adjust slowly, and more on that in Carnivore Labs.
So, but what it means,
We never
though,
overlapped with the dinosaurs.
what it means is that these people did not have food security. So when you found an animal or you happened to kill an animal by hunting, you ate as much as you could because you didn't know when your next meal was coming. And usually what was available were animals. There was not regular farming. There were not industrialized farm practices. There were not stores where you could go buy food. Like nowadays, we have unlimited access to food. So this is one of the arguments that, hey, our ancestors do it, maybe we should do it.
Okay, Mutual of Omaha.
That's not my argument. I do carnivore because it's removed all my health issues that I had. I didn't have very many, but pretty good genetics. But the ones I did, like even joint pain, prediabetes, and the anxiety disorder, keto cured that. And when I say keto, I'm talking about beef. This was back in the day before keto snacks and keto food came out. I was just eating meat and some salad. And so even the salad was mostly romaine lettuce, which probably one of the lowest oxalate containing vegetables, but still it was healthy for the most part, and it really helped a lot. And so that's really why people do carnivore. It's not really to lose weight. That's just an added bonus.
Omaha. But now people are talking about carnivore diets for other reasons.
You know that show that they used to stage those catching of the animals?
Really?
Yeah, I was disappointed to learn that when I was a kid, it was always on Sunday nights, and we'd watch it, and they would catch the animal, and then they would release them, and then film them catching them again. But it seemed like it was like so real. But
It did.
I know, very.
So I don't know if that's intentional, but he's now associating like a fraudulent video or a show, making it sound like they were filming the wild when actually they would capture them and kind of set the scene, kind of like they're doing, setting a scene. But they're kind of, while you're thinking of carnivore, here's another thing that's misled us, what we thought was true.
It's funny. Anyways, go ahead.
Nobody out there probably remembers
Guilty by association, I guess you could say.
Mutual of
Our
Omaha.
viewers do, because they're in that demographic. They probably did. Leave a comment if you watch Mutual of Omaha.
Okay, so but the modern day carnivore,
That was a good segue into getting someone to leave a comment.
Yes.
is drawn to the carnivore diet
Right.
because they may have seen some immediate results of, hey, this is really working.
Right.
I'm losing.
Oh, that's me. Imagine that, doing something and it starts showing benefit. Losing weight, that's
Wait, I'm trying
that's
this
the added
carnivore
benefit.
diet.
That's
I'm feeling good and I'm
moderate
losing weight. Why is that?
Okay, so yeah, definitely it's popular with the gym bros and the gym bro science and people really trying to increase.
No, it's actually the exact opposite. Most gym bros, most bodybuilders are not fans of a carnivore diet, especially fitness trainers, because not just because of the diet, but also a lot of the truths in science and physics is also presented in a lot of these carnivore circles. So, for example, a lot of us who are in carnivore know we don't eating calories is just doesn't exist. You can't eat calories. We know these things. So fitness trainers and a lot of people have an issue with this because their whole business model is based on getting you to look at your weight on a scale and count calories. Basically, in my opinion, counting calories is just a way to try and moderate a carb addiction. That's really all it is. You're still hungry all the time. You just eat more frequently. But that aside, I'm going to guess, so he's saying it's mainly for weight loss, but that's not why most people do carnivore. They do it to reverse health issues.
Increase their muscle mass because of the protein count. The reason that it has potential to help early on is for a bunch of reasons. So one, when you eat a diet that's very restrictive, regardless of what it is, chances are your calories are going to go down. So
Okay, yeah, so he's saying counting calories. You can't eat calories. Again, more on that in Carnivore Labs. I'm not going to go through that right now. But yeah, if he's been, he doesn't look very happy. He's like, can we get through this video? Yeah. So yeah, no, counting calories is not a thing. Uh, in order for calorie counting to appear to work, the reason why it looks like it works is because you're severely under eating. Uh, this these arbitrary numbers um, that they just derive from a bomb calorimeter, which has nothing to do with the biochemistry of our body. Uh, it gives the illusion that it's actually a thing, but it's not. You're severely under eating, and that's why most people fall off and have. That's why they allow cheat meals or actually relapsing or binging because it's an addiction. And so it doesn't last very long. The only people who can do this are people who are influencers, people who are fitness trainers, people who are paid to suffer through that diet. And so, uh, yeah, so he's saying people lose weight because of a calorie deficit. That's not true. I eat ton. People lose body fat eating a ton of calories, quote unquote, because steak is high in calories. Ground beef, all of this stuff. When you eat a lot of that, you can eat few 3, 4, 5,000. There's people who've eaten 6,000 calories a day and still lost body fat. So it's clearly not a thing.
Elimination. You're
Yes.
eliminating other foods.
Yeah, so you reduce the calories, so this can show weight benefits, but when you eliminate these other foods, you're eliminating a whole bunch of things. So you're eliminating anything from a box, which we would say you should do anyway, so highly processed foods. You're eliminating highly refined grains. You're eliminating sugary snacks as well as drinks. So these things we've talked about all the time.
Good things to eliminate.
They're good things.
So this is where they're now finding common ground with carnivore because we agree on that too. All this processed stuff is bad, but it's all bad. And the reason why they try to pretend like they're against it is because they know that any carb is a carb. There is no complex carbs and the whole glycemic index theory and all of these things. They're going to keep you on carbs. They know you're going to slip. They know you're going to still eat those processed foods. Even if you're trying to just eat vegetables, you're going to have a cheat meal most likely. And so, and because most people are already sick or pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic, the only choice is abstinence. We're very similar. And I say we because I'm addicted to carbs. It's very similar to alcoholism. And as we know, ask any person who's an alcoholic, they can't moderate their drinking. They have to be abstinent. In fact, they don't even stop identifying themselves as alcoholics because that's where you slip up. If you're addicted to carbs and you're like, wow, I haven't had carbs in 6 months. I'm going to go ahead and reward myself with carrot cake. That's my favorite cake. That's a slippery slope. It's not a good idea. And knowing that carbohydrates or exogenous carbohydrates are non-essential, our bodies don't need it at all. But yet we find ourselves having to eat it even though it's harming us. That's an addiction. So yeah, let's move on.
Things to eliminate, and that might be part of why you feel better. The other thing is when you eliminate all those other things, you may have some things that you had subtle intolerances or potentially allergies to that you weren't aware of that now are removed. So you're like, oh, you know what? My stomach feels a little bit better.
So now they're pointing out carnivore is like an elimination diet. It is technically, but that's, again, not the point. The point is to remove all man-made products. As advanced as we are in science, we'll never be as advanced as our bodies. Our bodies are highly intelligent. Our bodies are amazing. They're miraculous. And so what a lot of people in modern medicine want to do is try to convince you, again, look how happy he looks. They want you to believe that your body's stupid, that it evolved from a monkey. So, how good could it possibly be? It's chaos. It's, whatever. And so if you have that idea, then especially if you believe we come from monkeys, then of course a very smart scientist is going to appear to be someone who could create something that's going to make the body better. But there's nothing we can do to improve the body. All we can do is break things to turn off the symptoms of disease. That I would say the vast majority of medicine is just breaking something in the body to turn off something else, to turn off an alarm or to do something. You can't improve an optimized body. Just can't. At least right now, we can't do it. So that's the whole problem. So he's saying, it's like an elimination diet, but that's not why a lot of people do it. At least you shouldn't. You should do it because that's what we're supposed to eat. We're supposed to eat animal products only, real food. And yeah, some people are intolerable and can't tolerate dairy, but it's just because of the way it's been processed. Some people do well on raw milk, but again, dairy is not absolutely necessary. Some people do fine, so it does depend on you.
A little bit less inflamed, whatever. There's a lot of potential benefits of these elimination style diets, but it's really, you're just eliminating everything. So it's going to ease your gut. And some people say that things like leaky gut and your gut microbiome can improve when you do this initially.
Okay. So I pointed that out, and that's true. A lot of people do improve their gut, but it's not just from processed food. It's also from eating a lot of vegetables that are high in oxalic acid or high in oxalates, fruit, all of these things. Again, I won't go into those details, Carnivore Labs, but yeah, these things do cause inflammation. And so that's a big part of it. A carnivore diet is a super anti-inflammatory diet.
Here's why it's not good for you.
Okay.
Now, so they said those are all the good things, and they're calling it an elimination diet. Now let's see why it's not good, and let's see if they actually use science. I don't know if that's asking too much, but let's see.
First of all, you could actually be, in a way, malnutritioned because
Oh, this is crazy. This is the most nutritious way of eating you could possibly do. It has every essential nutrient, every one you need. And what's great about a carnivore diet is it really just sets you up to win. You're now providing the body what it needs to function optimally. Now, you can only do so much with your genes, but given what you were given at birth, you can take that to the max with a carnivore diet. And again, just try it. If you're somebody who hasn't tried it, just try it. If you're trying it and you don't feel well, it's expected in the beginning. If you want to learn more, go to Carnivore Labs. But yeah, excluding essential nutrients, plant-based. Okay, I'm gonna let him go on.
you're missing out on a lot of essential vitamins and other nutrients.
Imbalances, long-term health risk. There's absolutely zero way to prove any risk, cause, and effect in human nutrition. There just isn't. And again, if you want to know more about why studies are more like scripture to the religion of modern medicine, join Carnivore Labs. We go over that with evidence. But he's saying the absence of key vitamins, minerals, fiber. Fiber is not a mineral. It's not a nutrient, but it has all the vitamins and minerals in it. So you can go look that up for yourself. But this is a lie. Straight up
Nutrients that you just can't get from only
You get malnutrition from just eating plants. We know that.
animal products. Vitamin C, for example.
So theoretically,
Okay, that's a big misconception. There's vitamin C in beef. And the reason why, and you can't get scurvy on carnivore. Now, you can diminish your vitamin C on a quote unquote carnivore diet if you're eating it with, let's say, potatoes or drinking milk with your beef, because the problem is, and I'll try to make this quick, the glucose, the sugar in carbs and the vitamin C both use the GLUT4 transport into the cell. And sugar wins when it comes to fighting to get into the cell between vitamin C and glucose. So this is why if you're just eating potatoes, for example, I think sweet potatoes might contain vitamin C. I'm not quite sure if potatoes do, but if you're eating something that doesn't contain vitamin C, and that's pretty much all you're eating, you could get scurvy. But beef has vitamin C, and it has all the vitamin C you need. We don't need nearly as much vitamin C as people put out that we need. It's like, I think in nanograms, it's not even in milligrams. We need very little. But vitamin C, you do get it in beef. It's just, if you combine it with carbs, it could be an issue. And then you need to probably supplement with vitamin C.
you could develop scurvy.
Nobody on carnivore gets scurvy.
A lot of these do take a long time to develop. So early on,
Okay, so they're such as fatigue, weakness, gum disease, and impaired wound healing. These are all like symptoms of scurvy. But what this can do, by saying it this way, people can feel fatigue and weakness and lightheadedness when they start a carnivore diet too fast. And so if you're somebody who's tried carnivore and you're reading these symptoms, there's some overlap. You might think, oh my gosh, I was getting scurvy. I was fatigued. I was weak. And my gums bleed when I floss. Things like that. And impaired wound healing, that happens with if you're type 2 diabetic. So a person could think that it's caused by a carnivore diet, but it's not.
And you're not going to have signs of most of these micronutrient or phytochemical deficiencies.
Right. So you're missing out on a host of essential vitamins and nutrients that you're not
Lies.
going to get just from the animal product.
Right. So that's one. The second one is if you have existing kidney disease, that protein load can be very dangerous for you. Obviously, most.
No, not true at all. Of course, this depends. This is kind of some caveats here. So if you're someone with kidney disease, like I have a friend who lost his kidneys to most likely type 2 diabetes, undiagnosed, and he has a donor kidney, and he's done keto, and he's been totally fine. Lost a ton of weight, and he feels his best when he's doing that. And so this is not true at all in terms of carnivore being bad for your kidneys. It's the exact opposite.
Most people do not have kidney disease, but if you have borderline kidney function or kidney damage, this amount of protein definitely is a problem.
Okay.
And it's interesting to say that because this is like typically what a lot of type 2 diabetics, they have issues with their kidneys. So they know the audience they're talking to, because they know there are people with type 2 diabetes, even some with type 1, who are considering carnivore. So they're throwing things in here that are going to send, red flags for people with type 2 diabetes to scare them away from trying carnivore.
And another thing is if you're like me and your body has a problem with cholesterol.
Okay.
How does a body have a problem with cholesterol? That's a new one. I've never heard that one. That's ridiculous. Your body needs cholesterol. Absolutely. Like half of our cellular membrane is made of cholesterol. Cholesterol is used to make so many hormones to repair damage in the arteries. Cholesterol is one of the most essential things in our body. And he says his body has a problem with it. So I don't know if he's an alien. I don't know what his deal is, but that's crazy. I've never heard that before. And by the way, your cholesterol, your genes control your cholesterol, and it does it perfectly, depending on your situation, what you're eating, all kinds of different variables. Your body controls, your genes control your cholesterol. But again, this falls back on them wanting you to believe your body's stupid. And, if you eat too many eggs, your cholesterol is going to go up and you're going to die. The cholesterol thing is completely, I think, been debunked enough. I'm not going to get into that. Again, in Carnivore Labs, we explain it in detail. But yeah, the cholesterol thing, they need to stop. I know this was 2 years ago, so I'll give them that. But that's funny. Yeah, family history means nothing. That's usually an association. It's not even really a good association. It's like a correlation. I mean, if your parents, for example, have type 2 diabetes, then they're going to try to tell you then you're at risk for having type 2 diabetes, so you need to eat a plant-based diet. The only reason you would be at risk for type 2 diabetes is the fact that since your parents obviously had a diet and lifestyle that led to their type 2 diabetes, they're feeding you food and providing you the same diet and lifestyle that they had. So yes, in that sense, you could also get type 2 diabetes. But in terms of genes, you're not passing down type 2 diabetes.
High cholesterol. A heavy animal-based diet will increase your cholesterol levels.
Right, because of the.
No, that alone is not going to increase your cholesterol. That's, again, your genes control your cholesterol. Your cholesterol goes up and down according to everything in your life. It's not just it's everything. It's your whole lifestyle. And so to say that these things cause high, and they keep saying cholesterol. I know they're talking about LDL. I know they're buying into the high LDL thing is bad, and it's not. Just forget your lipid test, your cholesterol.
the often obligatory amounts of saturated fats. And there is controversy as to how much saturated fat is going to increase your levels of LDL or the bad cholesterol, and it's linked to heart
Oh,
disease.
yeah, see, LDL, bad cholesterol, no such thing.
Videos about this, but generally speaking, this has been shown to increase your risk of cardiovascular disease.
Now, wrong. No study, nothing can determine cause and effect. And again, they're just, and I know this is 2 years old actually. This video is 2 years old. Maybe they've changed their tune. I don't know. They're still in practice. Probably not, but I'll cut some slack and because it's 2 years old. But yeah, bad LDL, bad cholesterol, good cholesterol, it's all nonsense.
Yeah. And the problem is that, I mean, that is well shown, the increased.
It's well shown maybe in a study, you know, in their scripture. Like I say, modern science is like a religion, and the studies are their scripture, and these guys are their messengers. That's pretty much how I see it. It's a religion.
Cholesterol, increased LDL, that will increase your risk of heart disease.
Yes.
Where the controversy comes in is if you take medicines to reduce that, are you going to live longer? And I'm fine, I can accept those controversies, but it's irrefutable that these high levels.
Yes.
Irrefutable. Wow, that's a bold-faced lie. Again, this is 2 years old, but just in case, because there are still people who say this, this is all just a strong sales pitch to sell statins. And the way that he said, I'll let that controversy go about whether or not you need statins, that's just his way to kind of make himself look balanced. Like, okay, I'll give you that. You know, maybe statins aren't maybe that's not what you need, but this is irrefutable. You see what I'm saying? That's the Jedi mind tricks that these guys are using.
Are linked to heart disease.
Decades of solid research, regardless of how you feel about big pharma. Okay.
Okay, see? So, yeah, wow, these guys. And another thing I noticed about this video is they're kind of talking to you like you're a child. They're very condescending. They're talking. I feel like I'm watching Wild Kratts. I don't know if you guys ever seen that show, Wild Kratts. That's what these guys remind me of. These guys remind me like we're retired Wild Kratts. They're just, I don't know, they're just kind of talking down to us. And I don't know, it's kind of annoying.
Okay, another issue with the carnivore diet is an issue with constipation. Unfortunately, if you're a diet...
Constipation? Okay, I'm going to see where he's going. You know what, I'm going to just point this out because I might forget. This is my first time doing a React video, so I get getting jumbled up here. But constipation, this guy really does not want to do this video. A lot of people, when they start a carnivore diet, especially if they start too fast, but even regardless, people mistake not having a bowel movement for a couple of days as being constipated. Constipated is if you need to go, but you can't, and you have to push, and that's bad. But when you just eat meat, especially if you're just eating meat, your body, all that meat is getting absorbed. There's a guy, what's his name? Kent Carnivore. And a lot of people use him as an example, and he's a great example. He had his colon removed. All he has is a bag, and he says when he eats meat, all that's in the bag is liquid. It gets completely digest. And no, it's not getting backed up in there. You don't have, tons of meat undigested in your gut, like they say, unless you have some other issues going on where you're eating vegetables and it's blocked up. I don't know what, because it's not digestible. But people don't get constipated. They just don't have to have a bowel movement as much. And if you're eating other things, then you will. But if anything, a lot of people, because they switch to carnivore too fast, they might have some diarrhea. But again, this is from going in too fast. You have to take it slowly over 6 to 8 weeks. You have to gradually get your microbiome, your gut stuff, bacteria and everything adjusted to this new diet. And that goes with any new diet. You can't just jump into a new diet. Even if I'm doing right now, I'm carnivore and I jump overnight into vegan, I'm going to be all messed up. And I mean, of course, no matter how long I do it, I'll be all messed up. But you get the point. You jump to something completely different. You go to another country to a completely different diet. You might have some stomach issues, And so that's just the way it is. But constipation is rare. But not having to use the bathroom, that's common. And a lot of people mistake that for being constipated.
that has essentially zero fiber, constipation is going to become a very big problem. And that amount of, they believe the combination of protein, lack of fiber increases.
Okay, so this is another one of the sales pitches for fibers. Like, you need fiber to be regular. No, you need fiber to just poop out the fiber, because it doesn't digest. So they're giving you the illusion. They sell you the lie that you're supposed to poop every single day, 2-3 times a day. And then once you believe that lie, then they can easily sell it to you, because if you eat fiber, you will poop multiple times a day because it doesn't digest. It just goes right through you. You know, same guy, carnivore, when he ate vegetables before he went carnivore, he would eat broccoli and eat all these things, and it would be in the bag when he was done. It doesn't get digested. And so reduces the bulk and soften it. Yeah. So yeah, another lie, just trying to scare you away from carnivore. Because I mean, who wants to be constipated? You know, nobody wants to be constipated. So these are all just fear tactics.
This is your risk of colon cancer, quite specifically.
All right. That's one of them on the toilet.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, there's definitely more. So the other thing is anti-aging properties. So a lot of people who believe in the carnivore diet will say that there are chemicals in plants that actually are bad for you, that plants have.
That's not a belief. That's science. I mean, that's biochemistry. I don't know.
Devised a way to have these chemicals to make them less appealing to animals.
Yeah, just don't eat poison ivy.
Right. So having said that, though,
This is another sales pitch. They're just trying to, right now, when they're trying to discredit, they're trying to say we believe, emphasis on believe, but it's not a belief. This is a science. This is biology. You learn this in school. And so they do have toxins. And this is why they were hybridized and bred around 12,000 years ago, where they had to tweak it to try to make it edible. I mean, think about that. If you were to go out into the wild right now and try to eat plants, chances are you would perish. You can't. You you cannot survive on plants in the wild. All of these so-called vegetables are grown in farms, and there's a specific way that they've been bred all these years. A lot of these vegetables are only a few 200-300 years old. These are all man-made products, but you have to be convinced that they're good for you, and we all have. It's been drilled into us, like I said. Movies, songs, cartoons, commercials, our parents. It's embedded in there like a religion. It's ingrained in our brain to believe it, and you're ridiculed if you question it.
These are the exact same compounds that have been shown to reverse aging or reduce aging, like resveratrol, things like in grapes and other plants. So that whole ration.
This is kind of linked to like antioxidants. They've now recently shown, if you want to even, I mean, this is also not proven, but there are studies that show that these antioxidants actually trigger the antioxidant response in our bodies. And so this is what they used to measure. They used to say, oh, it's good because it's antioxidant. Well, no, they found that it's our bodies that are actually creating this immune response to combat the chemicals that are in the fruit and vegetables. So antioxidants is just like probiotics. These are just like a scam to sell products, whether it's from big pharmacy, or whether it's some natural way. Every food, beef, everything has a probiotic in it. And again, it's dependent on your gut biome, depending on what you're eating. So if they're just focused on the bacteria that are produced when you're eating plants and vegetables, and then you stop eating, and they call those the good bacteria, and then you stop eating fruit and vegetables, they're saying you're not getting the good bacteria, you're not feeding the good bacteria. It's like, no, they're all equal. Just your body makes the bacteria it needs for what you're eating.
Rationale of don't eat plants because we're not supposed to, or not designed to eat plants, totally breaks down on a scientific level. The last thing.
No, it doesn't break down on a scientific level. Your whole video breaks down on a scientific level. And if you notice my personality change and my reactions change, it's because my battery died, and then I went to the next day to film, and I just woke up. So I wouldn't say I'm grumpy. I did oversleep, but anyway, yeah, no, I think just as we go through this video, these guys are just blatantly just lying, and they should know better. I mean, I'm a computer engineer. Like, I didn't learn all the stuff they learned in medical school. So for me to know this stuff and them not to is just, I don't know. I don't buy it.
Thing that I would say about the carnivore diet is if you go to the National Library of Congress database where all randomized controlled trials and published medical literature exists, there are 0 studies on the carnivore diet. There are lots of studies about carnivore diet in dogs,
Right.
in cats, in other obligate carnivores, but we are not them. There are
So just because the religion of modern science doesn't bother to do studies on carnivore doesn't mean that carnivore is wrong. And again, this is the appeal to authority. This is based on the belief in that modern medicine, in terms of health, human nutrition, is valid, is true. You have to, this is all a belief system, a blind faith to hear and obey, to appeal to authority. And so that's why in the last 5 years, there's been a strong push on follow the science. I'm evidence-based. I only go by the data. I don't go by my personal opinion. I go follow the data. And so they put all these articulate, well-spoken doctors and MDs and all these people, even influencers who are friends with these MDs publicly, to get you to believe everything they say. And so that if you do say anything about human nutrition, someone is going, I mean, if the brainwashing is working, you're going to either say, oh, well, are you a doctor? Are you a scientist? Where's your study to prove this? And then, of course, there's some bots out there to reinforce this. So with social media, it's much easier to make it look like the majority of people believe this. And so in a state of confusion, that's when social proof works the best. It's most powerful when you're in a state of confusion. You just follow the crowd. And so in the last 5 years, that's what's been put upon us. You know, how could so many people be wrong? What are you, an idiot? And so, you know, and in the Carnivore Labs, we talk about, we discuss critical thinking. So it's not just diet and working with addiction, but we also cover critical thinking to protect us from misinformation, to think critically and to question things. And we have our private community where we can go and we can discuss this. And it's not an echo chamber. We discuss in and out of the community, but the point is, sometimes you can feel alone or feel like a minority and you just give in and follow the crowd, and you don't want to do that. So these guys are, again, appealing to scripture, to their studies, and yeah, that's what they're banking on you to be like, wow, there's no studies that prove carnivore. There are no studies to prove either way, either carnivore or plant or whatever. So we go by our own anecdotal evidence, you know, just like back in the day, you know, or even now, you have family and friends and people who've tried something and they say, oh my gosh, I'm so much better. Everything's great. So you try it. Well, they're trying to stop that. They want you just to listen to them. Like, forget what your eyes and your 5 senses say. Like, forget science. Just trust them, do what we say. That's where we're at right now in this day and age.
no studies. And so a couple things. In general, diet research, food-based research, supplement research is not very well done because it's complicated, it's expensive, and it's easier just to release something and say something and start propagating. But there's no data. So if you are a carnivore lover and you really love the carnivore, please organize a randomized controlled trial and please show us somehow that A, it's going to...
What a he's being a weirdo saying that. Please do your own study, do your multi-million-dollar study, and it doesn't matter how many studies they do. They can never do them the way they need to be done to be considered science. Again, in Carnivore Labs, we discuss this and why. I won't get into it into these videos, or the videos are already pretty long, so I won't get into that. But no study can show cause and effect for anything human nutrition.
Going to help in the short term, but B, more importantly, the long term. This is my big fear for these people. If you do it for a month and you lose 20 pounds and you feel better, great. But 20 years from now, your risk of heart disease and cancer and other medical problems are going to be very significant.
So you need this. This is kind of following the evolution theory that given enough time, something from nothing can become something. So if something right now is reversing all of my illness, all my disease, I feel amazing. I feel 30 years younger. Well, that's true now, but later, 20 years from now, it's gonna fall apart. It's just gonna break. And so, and I think they're kind of basing this on the fact that a lot of people know that if you start a vegan diet, you feel better because you're coming off of eating all kinds of crap. Because most people that start a vegan diet are trying to improve their health, so they just eat vegetables and fruit and all these plants, and that's temporarily better than eating donuts and all this other stuff. But you do reach a plateau and then a decline when the lack of nutrition, whereas the lack of pure sugar and all that other stuff is gone. You do increase, you do feel better. You're coming up from out of the hole, but you just as you get out of the hole, you're still gonna then you're just gonna be you're gonna hit a plateau of still a health low, but now the malnutrition kicks in, and and because they also want you to just focus on your weight, you're like, wow, I'm losing weight, and and you're losing muscle and you're losing bone density over if you do this long enough. So they're banking on you having that understanding and then applying it to carnivore. They're like, well, yeah, that was true with veganism. I tried to veganism and I felt great for a little bit. Then I didn't. So it must be the same for carnivore. Now, there's people who've been doing carnivore for decades, and they're still on point. They're still a field talking, and of course, it's anecdotal. They could be lying, true. But again, these are all sales pitches. Our side and their side, this side, that side. Just try it. That that's all I'm saying. Just try it. So that's what they don't want you to do.
So we're not going to tell you what to eat and what not to eat. We're just reviewing
They literally just said what to eat and what not to eat.
some of the literature about the carnivore diet and some of the implications of it. If you're thinking of going down that road, you really should know this stuff that we just talked about.
Make sure you
Okay, so they're kind of admitting that this video is for people who are considering it or thinking about it because they're scared. This whole industry is scared, and which kind of scares me because we don't know what could in the short or long term what could possibly happen to our food supply. But this is a sales pitch to a fear pitch, you could say, to not get people to try carnivore.
bring some Metamucil if you are going down that road. And then the last thing I would say is
Metamucil. That's probably something, that's what doctors prescribe. If you're constipated, have Metamucil. Don't look at what you're eating. Just take a drug. But you're not going to be constipated on carnivore.
be careful of people that promote this diet, because throughout YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and all these platforms, a lot of people are selling you stuff. So beware, someone that's selling you a book or that's
Beware of people trying to sell you stuff. That makes no sense. Everything's a sale. He said, be careful if someone's trying to sell you a book. Do you know how many books are sold in medical school or in universities? I mean, this makes no sense. If someone's trying to get you to sell you something, is medical school not expensive? Are medications not expensive? I mean, it's kind of very hypocritical, to be honest.
selling you a supplement. And if you have to take a
Now, I do, there's some truth to this, and this is actually what makes a lot of lies very powerful, is they mix in some truth. And then if you're not really, clear on what truth and falsehood is, you can believe them. There's some truth to that. There are influencers out there trying to push a certain narrative, a certain type of carnivore, a certain type of this and that to sell supplements, especially in the keto circle. Unfortunately, keto has been infiltrated, and certain ways that people do keto, like eat in a giant bowl of salad, to which then would deplete your certain minerals. And so then you would need to supplement with a ton of electrolytes and this light, that light, this pill, this pill. So that's true. Some people do set you up under the guise of being healthy, but set you up to do it in such a way that you're going to need supplementation. And of course, also depending on your own health, if you're switching to carnivore, you're trying to improve your health, you may be in a deficiency where you need some supplements in the beginning. But there are people who just want to sell supplements to you for the rest of your life. Like it's like a natural form of medication.
A ton of supplements to deal with your crazy diet. Maybe it's not a good
Crazy diet.
diet.
Not a crazy. I'm not a big fan of diets in general, but I
Right.
think you should have a good diet.
Yes.
In general, but yeah, I mean, really educate yourself.
A diet is just a way of eating. It's not, I mean, that's also been adulterated, that term. It's like, are you on a diet? We're all on a diet.
Well before you embark on this type of lifestyle eating.
And we're not sponsored by anybody, so what?
That's probably the only true thing he said is that it's a lifestyle eating. It is a life type of lifestyle. It's not a diet. It's a lifestyle. Just like, you know, I'm Muslim, so you know I don't eat pork. That's not a that's not part of. I'm not on a diet. That's part of my lifestyle. I don't eat it. You know, if someone offered it to me, I'd say, oh no, I don't eat pork. Now, if you're on a diet and you don't eat donuts or you don't eat sugar, or if you're type 2 diabetic and hopefully you're not eating sugar and someone offers you sugar, you say, oh no, I can't eat that. There's a difference between I don't and I can't. And so as a carnivore, you want to develop that lifestyle, that mindset of, oh, do you want some cake or do you want, you know, some Brussels sprouts? You say, oh no, I don't eat vegetables. I don't eat sugar. You have to have that don't mindset as carnivore. You don't want the can't. And then there's the whole psychological issue of saying you can't do, telling yourself you can't do something. But again, that's in Carnivore Labs. We talk about that, but there's a lot of self-talk and that's which plays a huge role. But he got that right. It is a lifestyle.
People eat doesn't really matter.
I thought you were sponsored by kale,
No, I'm a self-promoter of kale. I'm not
Kale.
sponsored per se.
the bully of all green leafy vegetables.
Doesn't
Well, that explains why he doesn't want you doing carnivore. And he just said, beware of people who try to sell you something. He said, per se, he's not a sponsor of kale, but he's promoting kale. He's trying to promote the sale of kale. Ooh, I was rhyming. But that's what he's doing. And so kale, please, by all, don't eat kale. If you're going to slowly stop, just start with dark leafy greens. They have the most oxalates. They have the most toxins. And so, yeah, this kale, yeah, you kind of, anyway, I'm not going to go into ad hominems, but yeah.
have to be a bully. Science just shows that it's good for you.
I heard.
Science just shows it. No, it don't. Science doesn't show any of the stuff they're talking about. And they smile and laugh a lot. I mean, I mean, it's cool. I'm glad they get along and they're friends, probably. I don't know, but I'm gonna start calling these dudes wild crats. Yeah, just the condescension, the child talking to us like children, and you know, saying carnivore is crazy and you're a zealot, and it's just so much crazy. This is they're really trying hard to get you not to try carnivore or to stay carnivore.
I read that how we learned that we could eat kale was someone was walking through a kale field, cut themselves on the kale, and bit it out of anger, and said, "Hey, we can actually eat this."
Okay, so now he's trying to, you know, balance it out by saying like he's against kale. He's like, I can't eat kale, you know. So they're showing even some kind of disagreement between themselves to make themselves look balanced. Like, oh wait, maybe these guys are telling the truth. They're not perfectly in sync. They do disagree on certain things, but they agree on carnivore being bad, so it must be bad.
Yeah, no, that's not true at all. But the chicken wing.
The chicken wing. We are trying to get sponsored by the chicken wing.
No, we are not. You maybe are.
Honey garlic, barbecue, dry rub.
There you go. We're not sponsored by
so now
anybody.
he's sponsoring eating meat with sugar with barbecue sauce. So apparently this guy loves barbecue chicken wings. Zero nutrition. Maybe you get a little of the fat from the skin, but you're eating sugar and fat and salt. Usually it's salty. You're just creating like an MSG bomb naturally, and you're kicking in the Randall cycle.
If you like this video, please like it, subscribe to our channel. Even if you don't like this video, leave a comment. Tell us your experience with either the carnivore diet or someone you know who's on the carnivore diet.
And just don't believe everything you see on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.
TikTok,
That's
yeah,
us.
that's us. Yeah.
Never mind.
But you're on YouTube. That's another thing. And I kind of don't blame these guys. I mean, imagine you spend umpteen years in an institution, you learn a thing to do a certain thing. It's kind of like a hazing, going through all that. Like I think I said earlier, then you finally achieve it. Something that's, you've been raised to believe this is the apex of being a human is to be a doctor, and you finally make it. And then people come on YouTube who didn't do any of that, and they're questioning you, and they're providing evidence that's contradicting what you've spent so many years learning. That's gotta hurt, man. And cognitive dissonance has got to be so strong in that, because you feel like you're coming from a private club, especially if these guys went like to Harvard. If you go to one of those Ivy League colleges where it's like a social club, and it's this nepotism, and you're in like this clique, and now you have these people who are out not only outside of your clique, but they didn't even do the education and all this and that. And even if you present my medical doctor that's on the side of Carnivore, they go, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Like the goalpost keeps shifting with anything that's against Carnivore. But yeah, I don't know. Let's check the comments. I agree with extreme diets. Now, keep in mind, you can delete comments. So a lot of people do that. I do not delete my comments. So, if you got some disagreement with me, by all means post. But if it's crazy, if you're like being just attacking me personally, then it gets deleted, because my kids read this, and they'd be like, Dad, he said you're stupid. You know what I mean? Like that guy, I don't want you traumatizing my kids. My kids look at my video. I make my videos very family safe. I don't say anything. I try not to, I'm not going to, I don't make my whole thing is not to make anyone feel uncomfortable. I don't want to attack people's character or anything like that. I try to put in some humor if I can. As I get more and more used to this camera, I'll probably get more relaxed, and then who knows what's going to happen then. But it will always be family friendly. I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. 46 years old, 2 months in Carnivore, no knee inflammation. I can run again. Okay, so now, yeah, so I think there's other people that have reacted to this video. So people who have a good following. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of, is this satire? These are the kind of doctors that made me unhealthy. Yeah, they're going to get, and it's been 2 years. There's going to be a lot of carnivores in here. And what's interesting? The vast majority of carnivores promote carnivore. They talk about the benefits, the multitude of benefits of being on carnivore. They sell carnivore. 3 years on carnivore, feel great, no constipation, high LDL, high G. I think it means high HDL, low triglyceride. I think it meant HDL, higher muscle mass. So this is what the carnivores are saying. But if you look at any other side, if you look at a so-called balanced diet or a vegan or whatever, the vast majority of them are just bashing carnivore. They have nothing really to sell you. There's so much on the defensive that they're no longer promoting. They just bash carnivore. And so, because it's changing lives. Carnivore is changing lives, long-term, permanently. So I think we're done with this React. Yeah, again, these are all sales pitches. And what is it? Where's my pen? Like this dude, that guy is funny. I have to admit, he's the cause for the pause. His faces are hilarious. He just looks like he does not want to be there, but or he's just so mad about carnivore. He's just super irritated. But yeah, so first React video. Let me know what you think. Please share, hit me up at Farouk at carnivorelabs.com with any suggestions. It's something you want me to react to. I'm going to keep at least trying to do one of these a week to get used to just, on the fly reacting to videos. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Check out Carnivore Labs at the link in the description below. Subscribe, like if you like. And I'll see you in a week. Take care. Peace.